Hello there. How's
Hi,
everyone?
everybody.
Yeah, hey, how are you? Welcome to Comic Books the New Class. For this particular episode, we're going to be discussing something known as manga. What on earth is manga, you ask? Well, we're going to dive into that. We're going to share with you some of our favorite titles, and we're going to take your questions and comments in just one moment. But first, we have this for you.
I hate those comic books. They never get the eyes right.
Iron Man, that's kind of catchy. It's got a nice ring to it.
Is Spider-Man?
Superman.
Superman.
Gotta love that intro, really. Well, once again, welcome to Comic Books the New Class. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for being with us. Don't forget to like and share this video with all of your closest friends. Now, here at Comic Books the New Class, we discuss specific themes, specific titles relating to what we are discussing. In this case, we are talking about manga on this particular episode of Comic Books the New Class. My name is Ryan. I am joined by my incredible co-host. Where am I pointing? Where am I pointing? There it is, right over there. To Krayley Vanessa. Krayley, how are you?
I'm doing well, aside from being pretty tired. How are you doing, Ryan?
Pretty tired. Guess what? I'm not. I'm just getting started. But I'm doing quite well. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate it so much. Now, for those of you who may be wondering, what exactly is manga? I'm not really overly familiar with this, so I'm going to turn things over to Krayley. Can you explain to us what is manga and some of the things we're going to be discussing this week?
So manga are first and foremost, they're mostly Japanese comic books, although lots of other countries and cultures make manga now. The most noticeable trait is that you read them from right to left when they get translated into other languages even. So if you've ever been like, this book is backwards, it's probably a manga. And so interestingly enough, there's all kinds of terminology around this. The only stuff I'm going to go into with you today are the genres, the types of manga. And there's a lot of fluidity between these categories and stuff. And a lot of them, the terminology has gotten a little old. It's like the boy manga versus the girl manga or whatever. So bear with me as the terminology is evolving, especially considering that I don't speak any Japanese. But so there's shonen, which are those like action stories, coming of age, a group of friends go out to fight and learn something along the way. And the examples I found for that were Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and My Hero Academia. Then there are shoujo comics. Those are like teen girl. I don't know if you can see my air quote there. Teen girl stories. They used to be considered.
Did you just say air quotes? Where are they? There they are.
There they are. Mm-hmm. So shoujo, they're the teen girl ones. They're coming of age stories that they can have fighting in them. Like Sailor Moon fights some pretty intimidating villains, but the focus of the story isn't so much on the fighting conflict. It's more on those lessons that get learned along the way and the relationships that form. They also, a lot of them are like high school students. That's like the main protagonist age group. And then Ryan, if you can pull my graphic back.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We're still studying here for this test.
We're still studying for the test. So then there's seinen, if I'm pronouncing it right. So those are dark, gritty, like action stories. They're like sort of like the noir stuff, but for manga. The examples are Akira, Blame, and Berserk that I could find. Or if you're going to use the Netflix adaptation pronunciation, that middle one is Blom. It's the way they yelled it every time. Blum. Then you've got the josei, which are drama and romance. The seinen and josei contain adult themes. In josei, sometimes they can be somewhat sexually explicit. So you've got to look for those tags if you're not interested in it to like,
sure.
You know, they're drama stories for like an older demographic that focus again more on like drama and romance and less on like a straight up mystery or action story. Just, you know, watch out if you're trying to avoid that stuff. And then there's Kodomo Muke, I think is how you pronounce that. So those are children's.
Wow. Great pronunciation.
Manga. Thanks.
Better than anything I could do.
Are Pokemon Adventure, Fluffy Cinnamon Roll.
Oh, Cinnamon Roll.
I can't remember the third one that I found because I don't read a lot of children's manga. The only one I'm familiar with at all is Pokemon Adventures.
Got to catch them
Surprise,
all, right?
surprise. I'm familiar with the Pokemon manga, but
Got to catch them all. Pokemon Pikachu.
yeah. So,
Hmm.
um,
Interesting.
yeah, most of the stuff I'll be talking about with you tonight is in that shoujo genre. I got a sneak peek at Ryan's. I feel like most of his would probably fit in the shonen genre, but we'll ask him his opinion when he gets to his picks.
Of course, of course. And once again, if you have any thoughts about this, any recommendations, titles that we should check out relating to this, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the live chat. We're going to be keeping an eye on it as we go throughout the course of this show. And whether you are watching us live or on the replay, thank you so much for being with us. We cannot do this without you. John Pica chimes in. He says, "Hey, kids." Hi, Johnny. Good to see you, too. Hope things are well in your neck of the woods. And feel free to let us know any recommendations, pal, because Lord knows, how many comic books do you read a day? 50, 60, maybe 90? I don't know. John Pike has got a lot of comic books in his collection, I'm sure. Or maybe manga in this case. Maybe he's got a ton of manga somewhere laying around. I'm not sure. But Crayley, you have some titles here for us. So let's kick things off with you then, shall we? How about this one? Can you tell us about this? What exactly is
So,
this?
aside from the Pokemon manga, which I did not read in order or read any episodes of as a kid, when I was in 7th grade, this was the first manga I ever read. It's called Fruits Basket. It is like one of the stereotypical like shoujo high school girls that fall into some sort of like fantasy aspect of something, but mostly they're just high school kids trying to grow up under difficult conditions. This is a story about a girl who has been orphaned recently. She works really hard. She's really shy. She has 2 close friends and she's nice, but she's very shy. And her grandfather's apartment is being remodeled and there's not room for her to stay with her grandfather's other grandkids through a different relative. So he asks if she can stay with some of her friends. She says she will, but they don't have space for her either. So she secretly tries to camp on what she thinks is some public land. And a mudslide happens on this property, and it turns out it belongs to some of her classmates. They try to bring her in for what's supposed to be just one night, and she knocks into one of them and finds out that they're part of a family that when they get hugged by someone of the opposite sex, they turn into a zodiac animal from the Chinese zodiac. There's this like,
my.
right? So there's a curse that gets activated by being hugged by someone of the opposite sex, which is so, that's just so shoujo. I can't even.
Gee
So she has,
Willikers has similar elements of that horror film that came out some years ago called It Follows,
oh, I mean,
which I still have not seen yet. I heard it's a great film. I just haven't seen it yet. Sorry for those of you who may be watching and wondering, what exactly is the movie It Follows? It's a little too much to explain on this show. Just Google it. It's on a Google page somewhere. Or what's another great IMDb. IMDb.com. Just go to IMDb and you can find out more about it there. But that's neither here nor there. What am I talking about? Oh yeah, manga. So that's an interesting title to kick things off with, isn't it?
yeah, it's called Furuba by some of the fans.
Hmm.
And one of the things I loved about this, reading this in middle school, as like a little bit of it was still coming out, is the author would regularly publish fan art that got mailed to her in the back of the books, which was adorable. And she also, something that happens in some manga, not all of them, but some, is sometimes the authors write notes to the fans about questions they've had or why they made inking decisions that they made, things like that, in the side notes that are just like personal little letters to the readers. So you don't see those a lot in Western comics. But the manga authors sometimes are really, really involved with their fandom as they're writing things, or will point out when they took fan suggestions or noticed something that the fans were thinking and wanted to be like, hey, I'm not going to go that direction, but I love how passionate you are. So Fruits Basket is one that the author did that all throughout the publication.
Well, that is some fascinating history right there. So if that wasn't fascinating enough, what exactly is Under the Oak Tree all about?
All right. This is a josei story. It's a straight up romance. So I'm reading this as a web comic that's only available on Manta, which is an app. You can either pay a monthly subscription or like use so many free points. So if that format is not appealing to you, that is the only way to get this. And I'm very sorry, because you're missing out on beautiful artwork in addition to a really moving story. So Maxie, the main character, is married off to a knight to keep her father from having to participate in a war. He has no sons. And so he sends his son-in-law that he marries his daughter off to really quickly. She doesn't have time to get to know him because he goes straight to war. He comes back and they're both from really humble beginnings. Like she's a noblewoman, but her father was abusive and she doesn't want him to know. And he has his own past traumas too. Aside from the fact that he started as a mercenary before he was ever a knight, he gets really famous during the war. And there's like, I mean, it's mostly just about their marriage and them trying to open up to each other, which that's something I like about the like girly mangas is the stakes could be very high for something political or like fate of the world level stuff. There are monsters and wars and like a 7-nation armistice in this book series, but it's mostly just about their marriage. And the characters are just really endearing. I don't want to give away too much. It's based on a web novel. The web novel is way more graphic with the romance, I found out recently, than the web comic, which I discovered. The web comic is very like fade to black, or like you're looking at like where the leg of a bedpost touches the floor and it says creak to imply that some adult things are happening. I found out recently that's not the case with the novel. So if you're okay with like PG-13 stuff and really like romance, I really recommend the web comic version that's like manga style. Sometimes you have to like lock your screen and rotate because again, it is that format for the phone if you're reading it on your phone. But this is PG-13. The novel is apparently R-rated, and there are like warnings about that if you buy the novel version on Amazon or something. But it's a really cute story. I'm constantly turning to David and being like, oh, this thing just happened and it's so cute. While like, again, the drama unfolding in the background is very serious. So if you're looking for like medieval fantasy setting, but just a straight up romance story, Under the Oak Tree is really good. I've been like obsessing. So.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Once again, this is Comic Books, the New Class. We are talking about manga on this particular episode. If you have any thoughts about this, if you have any recommendations, maybe some titles that we should be looking at, checking out, things of that nature, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We're going to be keeping an eye on that as we go through the course of this very show. And if this is your first time here, thank you so much for being here. Do not forget to like and share this video with all 200 of your closest friends because they're going to like the way they look if they're watching or listening to this episode of Comic Books, The New Class, hosted by yours truly, which is Ryan and Crayley. Oh, it's so much fun. Now, if you thought that was crazy, you haven't seen anything yet because this title may be familiar to some, maybe many, maybe even you who may be watching or listening to this. I'm not sure. Sailor Moon. What on earth is Sailor Moon? And gentlemen, ladies, for those of you who are watching, I will admit this up front. I have watched a few episodes of this animated, because this was an animated series at one point. I think it still is to this day, probably. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I remember watching reruns of this as a kid. Okay, not now, but many eons ago when I was a much younger lad. I did watch reruns of Sailor Moon. So Crayley, there you go. I got a little bit of credibility on this show. But anyway, enough about me. What is Sailor Moon all about?
Okay, so I will tell you, if you watched the 90s anime only, the manga is going to have a bunch of stuff that is very new to you, like new and different.
Yeah.
Because the 90s anime didn't follow the manga as closely. If you watch Sailor Moon Crystal, the reboot that's available on Netflix right now, as it starts out as a regular serial, like weekly format, and then moves into 2 films that bring the story mostly up to date. I think they're going to come out with 1 or 2 more films to cover one more major story arc. Then you're going to be relieved to see some of the deeper character development in the manga that was kind of missing. The 90s anime was really cheesy in a good way for a lot of people. That holds a lot of nostalgia. But if you've outgrown that or gotten tired of that, you're still going to be really interested in the manga. One of my preferences, you know what, let me tell you about the plot before I tell you about one of the things I like the best, having experienced this as both an anime and a manga. So the plot is this middle school girl. Again, I'm very into shoujo manga. It's my favorite. This middle school girl meets a cat who appears to have a bald spot shaped like a crescent moon on its head on her way to school while she's late one morning. Peels the Band-Aid off the bald spot, and the cat starts talking to her. And then she just thinks that's weird and goes back to school, gets in trouble for being late, tries to eat her lunch in the hallway, gets yelled at for that, gets a bad grade. Her mom yells at her for that. She seems to be a very normal middle school girl who is very into reading her own mangas and just likes to have fun and wear cute clothes and stuff. And then she thinks she's dreaming when the cat is like, "Wake up, Usagi." That's her name. It means bunny rabbit, apparently. She's got those two buns on her head. You have to go fight a monster. And she thinks it's a dream. So she goes, and even in her dream, she's terrified. She starts crying, and her cry has like a sonic effect, right? And she finds out that in a past life, she was Sailor Moon, who's like a sailor guardian, and there are other sailor guardians out there that she needs to find so that they can defeat the forces of evil that have also been reawakened in the world. The lore gets so complicated. Like, again, I love this about shoujo and josei stories is the world building and the stakes can be so high. So the lore has a lot to do with their past reincarnations and enemies who could literally destroy the world, but also almost as much of the story is dedicated to who the characters are dating, what their grades are like. There's a time traveling character who's actually another character's daughter from way in the future or whatever. And like, you'd think that would be the most pressing part of that story, is stopping the calamity that motivated her to come back in time at one point. And instead, like, part of the story gets devoted to how she becomes like a class president essentially of her kindergarten class because she goes to school while she's there. Like, you know, it's really great. And one of the things I love about the manga as someone who grew up with the 90s anime is my favorite character, Sailor Venus. In the 90s anime, they changed some things about her character to make her a lot more like that really tropey teenage girl thing. And I do like the tropey teenage girl part of shoujo stories, but it didn't have to be every single character. And in the manga, like, you can see that she had a lot more of a mature, like, take charge personality, and was a lot less into like dating and being boy crazy just to, you know, get in a fight with one of the other sailor characters about some guy they both like or whatever. So that is Sailor Moon. I feel like I could not possibly have done it justice because it's a really lore-rich universe. There are multiple iterations of it now between two animes and the manga. There's a prequel manga out, Sailor V. And it's a lot about friendship and other shoujo stuff, but also the girls are so powerful. And since I was a little girl watching it, they were kind of role models for me. And the creator intended the characters to be role models for young girls, I found out later in my life. So if you're looking for something to recommend maybe to a teen or preteen daughter, start them with Sailor Moon. Or a son. It can be a son too. It's just that the characters are girls mostly. So
Not that there's anything wrong with that. No, of course not.
no,
Of course
nothing's
not.
wrong with it at all.
We're all here to have fun, right? Doesn't matter who the character is, really. Well, that is just splendid. Thank you for sharing that with us, Crayley, with some of your picks here when it comes to manga and all that. If you have any thoughts about it, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. What's your favorite adventure featuring these characters from these different mangas? Let us know. Be curious to hear your thoughts about that. But with that being said, one of the first things I want to bring up here, and once again, this is Comic Books, a new class. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and share this video with all of your closest friends. Now, the first one I'd like to bring up here, some of these titles are going to be familiar, maybe they're not. Depends on how you look at it. First one I got here is Dragon Ball Z. Now, before this, there was Dragon Ball. And then it morphed into Dragon Ball Z, and then it morphed into Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z Super, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of Dragon Ball, okay? There's a plethora. But in this case, this is Dragon Ball Z, Volume 1 by, how do you pronounce this person's name? Akira Toriyama. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, I apologize. So in Volume 1, this is basically a sci-fi martial arts action type story where after years of training as well as adventure, Goku, who is the lead character on the cover of this one, he has become Earth's ultimate warrior, but his son, known as Gohan, shows even greater promise. So he has a son that may possess more powers than his old man. But the stakes are increasing as even deadlier enemies threaten the planet. Dragon Ball Z is being called an ultimate sci-fi martial arts manga. So if you're into action-packed sequences, you want to see people getting beat up, blood being spilled, kicks being kicked, punches being thrown, whatever, kind of like Mortal Kombat with like ultimate combos. I mean, it's not quite as violent. Dragon Ball Z is nowhere near as violent as a Mortal Kombat video game because this is more appropriate for families, kids, whatever. I mean, yeah, sure, it gets a bit action-packed and a bit bloody here and there, but nothing too crazy. So you can have some of the younger fans read this. This isn't completely it's not rated R. Let's put it that way. So that's what I say about that. I read this volume 1. I liked it. I'm very much looking forward to reading more of this DBZ because I do like martial arts. I like action. I mean, it's like John Wick on steroids. Okay, it's like or something like that. I don't know. But Dragon Ball Z. Are you familiar with this at all, Graylee? Does this ring any bells for you or no?
I mean, I've never read any of the manga. I will at some point because you recommended it to me once before this show. But I'm familiar with the anime. Again, it was on Toonami on Cartoon Network when I was growing up, and like I think the early aughts. It was on Toonami. It was Dragon Ball Z. So,
boy, thanks for making me feel really old. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Age is just a bloody number. So Dragon Ball Z, looking for martial arts, looking for some action, kicking it. Check it out. So the next one I want to bring up to you is called Full Metal Alchemist, which has been adapted to, I believe Netflix has a series on this. I think there's a movie, there's a mini-series out in digital format, something like that. But when it comes to
also a Japanese musical based on Full Metal Alchemist, I think so.
I have to look that up. I'm not 100% sure. Well, with that being said, Full Metal Alchemist, for volume 1 anyway, the synopsis. So alchemy is the mystical power to alter the natural world, right? Something between magic, something between art, maybe something between science. When two different brothers, they're known as Edward and Alphonse Elric, hope I'm saying that right. They dabbed in this power to grant their dearest wish, which is one of them lost an arm and a leg as a result of this, and the other became nothing but a soul locked into the body of living steel. How about that? So you get a brother who loses, an arm, maybe a leg, and then the other brother's soul gets transferred into a suit of metal.
That must be where the full metal part comes from.
I think so. I wish we could cue in a Full Metal theme song for this right about now, or a heavy metal theme song. Maybe some Guns N' Roses, maybe some Metallica. I don't know. Does anyone have any song recommendations for this particular series, Full Metal Alchemist? Let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I read this. I like this story too. I like the camaraderie between the brothers, or the brothers and some of the other supporting characters are interesting. Got a few layers to them. But once again, this is a bit of an action-packed kind of thing, and I like action-packed stories, Craylee, if you couldn't tell by now. So, Full Metal Alchemist, let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think about this series thus far. In the comments below, I'll be curious to hear what you have to say. And the next one, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Craylee, because if I mispronounce this, they'll probably throw me to the wolves. Rurouni Kenshin? Am I saying that right? Rurouni Kenshin? If I'm not saying it right, okay, well, Rurouni Kenshin, there you go. So this is a very, very interesting story. You want to know why? Because in this volume 1, this is the beginning of the story. In the 11th year of the Magi, a Rurouni, a vagabond named Himura Kenshin, surfaces in Tokyo and befriends the spunky how do I pronounce this character's name? Is it Kaoru? Kaoru? I hope I'm saying that right. The owner of a student-less dojo. Okay. So with the aid of young new friend Yohiko, a boy wanted to be a samurai himself, Kenshin and Kaoru must ward off those looking to kill them. So this is what happens when you try to do the right thing and then people are after you because you're doing the right thing. They don't want people to be right. Something like that. So this is a bit of an adventure / romance. This is more of a romance type story as well as adventure. So if you're into that sort of thing, this may be something to look into. But as far as I'm concerned, I read volume 1. I liked it. Maybe not like it as much as I like Full Metal Alchemist and DBZ, but it's got potential. It's got potential. So I'm up for reading a few more volumes. I have a few more volumes here in my possession. I just haven't read them yet because I'm trying to get through the other 50,000 books that have been sitting on my flipping shelves. Or on my desk, Craylee. My to-be-read piles are terrible. They're terrible. There's like 600 on each pile. It's sad. But those are the 3 manga titles that I have to bring to the table. So if that rings any bells for you, if that sounds like something you'd be into, great. We recommend them. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. Let us know in the comments. Be curious to hear your thoughts. With that being said, I
I
think
have
we
to
covered a
write
lot
down
of.
the Rurouni Kenshin suggestion because
Because I'm a sucker for romance. Because I like romance in my life. I'm married, but I
this
want
is
other people
my
to be
first
happy.
time publicly on air discussing that I'm really into certain romance stories. I am holding back the urge to cringe. Like one of the things a lot of my friends have been, especially in like the cosplay circles, have been talking about is about how there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. You don't have to feel guilty for liking things.
No, not really.
So
No, you don't. You don't have to feel good. So if this is something that you enjoy, why not? You like this stuff, right? You're into romantic type storylines.
I am.
Yeah,
hadn't been
that's your
comfortable
thing.
talking about it until really recently.
That's
So
one of your favorite. That's one of your favorite cups of coffee to have every day. Romantic stories. Cheers. Here we go. See that? It's not just a good cup of coffee. It's a great romance story. There you go. See, that's what I mean. But yeah, listen. Don't be ashamed if you like something. Don't be ashamed if you think someone's gonna judge you, throw you under a bus. Who cares? Because we're all here to learn from each other. And if you like the titles that we recommended or that we shared with you, that's what I'm trying to say. That's great. If you don't like them, that's fine too. There's no harm, no foul. With that being said, Crayley, is there anything that I left out here?
I mean, I could always talk a little bit more about the Pokemon manga.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if y'all know, but my full-time business is actually making handmade art. It's a
True.
business called Pokeballs by Crayley.
Mm.
And I didn't read them in order or anything, but I started with the anime, and that made me interested in the manga and the video games. I recently opened a web store for my Pokeballs by Crayley site. So it's in my website that also has all the podcast information. So if you go to that CrayleyVaness.com, slash homepage is the homepage for the web store that I just launched. But CrayleyVaness.com with nothing behind it, there's links to an event that Ryan's going to tell you about here in a little bit and all my podcasts. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about how I built a store into my own website. I had to learn API short codes.
Oh
I had to
boy.
figure out a bunch of stuff in WordPress that I had never used before. I put blood, sweat, and tears into this website. So if you've been thinking about looking at my stuff, but the idea of having to message me and be like, what do you have? Can you send me a picture of this? Send me a picture. You don't have to do any of that now. You can look and go, ooh, add to cart, and I will ship the thing to you. I even have an option for to make the customization process go easier if you don't want to be having a constant back and forth to customize. If you're just like, look, I know I like Pikachu. What are some options with Pikachu? Oh, I could put him on the beach. That's my favorite, Pikachu on the beach. I've got options for that now, where you go to the choose your own scene, go to Pikachu, choose Pikachu on the beach. So CrayleyVaness.com/homepage. If you're listening to the audio only, my name is spelled CRAYLE, V as in Victor, ANEST as in Tango. So thank you so much for bearing with me as I babble on about how proud I am. It was really hard for me to build this. I'm not a coder or a programmer, so but it works. I know that it works. So
It works. I wish we had that GIF or the video where Doc grabs Marty by the collar. I finally invent something that works. Bet your ass it works. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. By the way, someone has a comment here. His name's David something or other. He says, David says, what are your guys' thoughts on mecha anime / manga? Mecha? Is that referring to giant robots or something like that?
Yeah, so especially the ones where it's
Is that like
usually a
kaiju?
teenager. It's always a teenager or a kid has to pilot something
Okay, so it's like Pacific Rim.
kind of like that. Yeah, they're all like
like
that.
Pacific
The
Rim.
one I read that was very steampunk style, if I'm even remembering it correctly, in middle school was called Sakura Taisen, Taisen, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Look it up yourself. And it didn't catch my attention in manga format, unfortunately. I do like mecha animes, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Aside from some stuff in the films they made to wrap it up that were really too disturbing for me, I really liked it. was so like Gundam Wing is one that was like when I was a kid was coming out, that was like kids piloting these giant robots and stuff. And Neon Genesis was something that talked about the effect that would actually happen, like the mental strain on children who have to pilot giant death machines. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff there. I should probably give them a try again as an adult in manga format because I only liked one of them back when I was in middle school, just devouring manga at my public library.
Yeah, I've heard of Gundam before. I have, and I've seen a couple of used copies of it at my local comic book store. Which, by the way, hashtag always support your local comic shops out there, ladies and gentlemen. If you have one in your neck of the woods, that's great. If it's a little further away from you, go to I believe there's a website where you can search where to find your specific local comic shop. I think you have to. I don't remember the exact address off the top of my head, but if you just Google it, it's there. It's in the database around there. But yeah, as far as my local comic shop goes, yeah, but Gundam's been around for ages, so there's like 50,000 paperbacks. There's probably like 50 different spin-offs featuring Gundam and characters related to Gundam. If anyone knows where I should start, please let me know by all means in the comments, because that thing is just a massive what tangle webs we weave. So
Also, if there's a manga that you already know you like and you come across like a compendium style volume of it or like a re-release of it, buy it because
probably.
manga English translations and Western licensed prints can come and go a lot more erratically than Western comics for us here in the West, obviously. So you can run into issues where you can't find them new, you can't find the volume that you're looking for and things like that sometimes, and it is a little frustrating. Now online there are places where you can like you pay a subscription and it's licensed and it's legal or whatever where you can find some of it online. But I find except for Manta, the site I was talking about that I read under the oak tree on, a lot of them don't format very well to read in an e-reader if you're not used to that. So if you find something in your local comic book shop that is like a lot of them and you're like, well, I only have this much budget and I also wanted this DC title, get the manga first. You'll probably be able to find the DC title again, but the manga title might go out of print in the West for 10 years. Like Fruits Basket just came back into print in the West like 2 years ago, and I've been like excitedly buying everything I can. So same with the merch. The licenses tend to come and go for finding officially licensed merch for manga. So
I was going to say, tell us how you really feel. No, when it comes to me and manga, this is a whole, in the words of a film that actually turns 30 this weekend. It's called Aladdin. I don't know if everyone's ever heard of it, but Aladdin turns 30 this weekend. A whole new world. So manga is a whole new world for me. These are the only 3 mangas I've read up to this point. So if anything else comes to mind, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. Let us know. We look forward to your feedback as we go throughout the course of this show. We've been going for a few months now. We've enjoyed every single second of it. We got mini-sodes, we got live episodes that we've done in the past. We've had special guests come through, and we got even more planned for next year of 2023. Can you believe 2023 is right around that corner? It's right over there. It's coming up faster than we can blink. So with that being said, I want to say thank you one and all for joining us on this episode of Comic Books, the New Class, where we were specifically discussing manga. On this episode, make sure you like and share this video with all of your closest friends. Crayley, where can the person watching or listening to this follow you on social media and everything that you have coming up? What do you got?
if you go to well, you know what? I've got buttons for this. That way I don't have to spell every single thing. So if you go to linktree.com/Phoenix Sis Cosplay, if you're listening to the audio only, it's the word Phoenix and then SIS, short for Phoenix Sisters. That's my cosplay duo. Phoenix Sis Cosplay. You can find links to mine and my cosplay partner Kelly's stuff. So if you're watching this show, that's probably where the bulk of that is going to be. Also, Pokeballs by Crayley has a link tree that I don't have a button for. So it's Pokeballs by CRAYLE, all one word. Linktree.com/Pokeballs by CRAYLE. If you're looking for just a button to click for, sign up for emails, go to the web store, look at Instagram, my Venmo and Zelle information. If you want to just send me a tip for putting more Pokeball stuff out into the world, be like, Crayley, use this heavily anime and manga and Japanese video game based income to take some classes and learn how to pronounce those Japanese terms better that you were struggling with earlier in the episode.
There you go. Enough said. Crayley, thank you so much for being with us. Once again, my name is Ryan. You can find me on all forms of social media. Right here on my name tag, it says @itsnerdculture. Links to where you can follow Crayley and myself are also located within the description of this video. Whether you're watching the video version or the audio version, there are links in the description that you can follow us on across all forms of social media. So many things are coming your way. By the way, if you're looking for some really good-looking swagger to add to your repertoire, whatever, for this holiday season, guess what? Comics and New Class, look what we have now. We have merch. It's everywhere. It's on our Redbubble store, which you can find. You can find it. It's at the, yeah, where is it, Crayley? It's at the Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, right? There it is, right there. So get merch at redbubble.com/people/Phoenix Sisters/shop. Right
It's
there.
in the Phoenix Sister shop because I do most of the designing. So for my podcasts and stuff like that, it was easier to keep it all in one place. But I promise you, I do make sure that any money we get from Comic Books The New Class goes to Ryan and I deciding how to distribute it evenly. Don't worry about that.
All that good stuff. Also, look at this. You want our faces planted on a coaster so you can put your drinks on our faces? Yeah, we have those too. Isn't that right, Crayley? We have those. We have shirts. We have hoodies. Hey, speaking of hoodies, it's getting cold out there. So if you want to keep yourself warm, treat yourself. Some hoodies, pullover hoodies, zip-up hoodies. Yes, we have zip-up hoodies in our store. I kid you not. I kid you not. We even have stickers. You can put them on your car. Put something on your wall. Put a poster of us on your wall if you so choose. That's up to you. Also, a big event is coming up in the month of January. This is specifically called the Multiverse Fundraiser. It is going to be on January the 20th through the 22nd of 2023. Presented by our good friends over there at Back of the Cereal Box. Go to www.themultiversefundraiser.com. We are going to have celebrity guests. We're going to have panels. We're going to have raffles. We're going to have giveaways. All the money and the proceeds are going to be donated to the Ritter Rally. That means we are donating the proceeds to the memory of the late, great John Ritter, a wonderful actor, a wonderful human being inside and out. We have heard nothing but positive things about this man. Heck, I grew up watching him in the Problem Child movies, for Pete's sake. Okay? That tells you something. This guy has been around for a long, long time. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us in a physical sense, but we are going to do everything we can to donate something to the Ritter Rally for the Multiverse Fundraiser. Once again, January 20th through 22nd, 2023. It is a free, get that, free virtual convention that you can attend from the comfort of your very own home. You don't even have to leave the house. You don't even have to pay a dime to watch the footage of this incredible, fun-filled weekend. And guess what? Here's a little tip for you. Guest announcements are coming very soon. Very, very soon.
Friday.
Yes, yes. Guest announcements are coming soon. And let me tell you, the guests that we have planned for 2023's The Multiverse Fundraiser are nothing short of stupendous. They are amazing. They are phenomenal. Every single word, adjective, or whatever, any positivity word that you can think of, we got it. So treat yourself to some merch. Treat yourself to the Multiverse Fundraiser in January of 2023. And in the meantime, my goodness gracious, I've said a lot of words on this episode. But you know what, Crayley? I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Smash that notification bell so you get notified of when our new videos go live. They go up. Tell your friends about us. They may like it. You never know. You don't know what you can do until you try.
Also, if you want to look up more about that specific charity for the Great Multiverse Fundraiser event Ryan was just talking about, the full name of the organization is the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health. We're calling the event the Ritter Rally because it's easier for people to remember, but you definitely want to check out their website because they've got really important health information on how specifically the aortic valve in the heart can have problems that sometimes get misdiagnosed as heart attacks when they are not. So that's one of the reasons we're supporting this cause, and we really hope you check them out.
100%. Could not agree with you more. Thank you so much for being with us. And in the meantime, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, and life is better when reading.